Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Pyre. I think we're really drawn up on the end here. Like, this could legitimately be the last episode. I'm kind of, I'm gonna miss it, honestly. This game is really, really good. So I was looking at the book in the Black Wagon here. Let me see if I can find a chapter real quick to make an example of here. I think we're right up on the end. Is this a good one? Page 43, page 47, page 49. No, not really. Okay. We're drawn up on the end here. The book is still missing a ton of pages. There are still a couple chapters where there's like 10 pages missing. And I'm realizing, like, as I'm looking through it, I'm thinking about it. Where's the chapter on the teams? Yeah, the triumvirates. Right, so we still don't have all the triumvirate tracks. We have a page on the accusers, we have a page on the fate, we have a page on the dissidents, of course, the Pyre hearts. But, like, you'll notice that the page numbers here are discontinuous. We don't have a page on the temper. We don't have a page on a couple of others. And I'm thinking that there are pages of the book that are missable, probably. Like, we're not going to get the whole thing. So I guess we'll just we'll continue onward until we have some idea that we're right at the end, and then we'll take a look at what the book looks like then. I guess you just don't necessarily get to see the entire book in a single playthrough. Which really is of a piece with the narrative design, because, right, you're going to miss out on events by playing against teams too few times, or by losing to them too early in the liberation, right? So they get away before you get their whole story. Or the characters that you liberate, obviously you'll miss any events they might be involved in. I think that this game is definitely going to bear a second playthrough for me. Maybe not right away, but I will come back. I'll probably try the higher difficulty. Anyway, let's get moving. You know, I need to move up a difficulty because I'm so good at it here on Heightened, right? It is daybreak. You are to set forth now for the Ridge of Gaul, for what appears to be the final time. Thereafter, you shall return here for one last exile's final chance at liberty, and I have no idea who it will be. Maybe Hedwyn. We would have to get Hedwyn to max level, I think, in order for that to happen. We might be able to do that with this final non-liberation rite if we play him here. If we play him here and he doesn't get banishment sickness, that is. I'm always a little nervous about that. Yonder lies the Ridge of Gaul, somewhat less imposing when viewed from this vantage point. Do you not agree, reader? The myths of the downside hold that it is no mere ridge of stone, but the remains of Lord Gandroth, once slain by Gaul Golathanian himself. The Serpent Titan. I don't think we've seen his name before, this particular Titan. He brandished his tower shield and sent Gandroth's fury back into his countenance. Though, perhaps such tales are of little import now, when you stand to confront the Tempers there in just a short while. So we don't really know a lot about the Tempers. My impression of the guy who leads the Tempers is that he's gruff but basically a good dude. We'll see if that holds. The northern route to the Ridge of Gaul goes through a small exile encampment. You sense an unusual presence here, bearing word of your adversary Ignarius. Or we could go through Blooming Pool, where I will probably have time to pursue my vocations, which means that I would definitely be able to max out Hedwyn. I'm actually really curious about this. We really, really don't know much about Ignarius. You make a successful landing in Downside Prairie, near the southern edge of the Downside. Memories of having first met Hedwyn, Jodariel, and Ruki come flooding back, and of course Ruki's name is glowing now, because now his text is slightly different. You now should have some time in the vicinity before continuing onward toward the Ridge of Gaul by land. Yeah, okay, let's contact some sort of entity which lurks beyond the veneer of reality. Weird. As you walk through a dark corner of Hollowroot, you sense a presence of some sort which reaches out to you. It presents to you a vision of the adversary you expect to face in the coming rite. The apparition is aware of your next adversary in the rites, Ignarius. It offers to sway the coming rite against him in your favor. Accept, and your adversary shall suffer a misfortune that inhibits his performance. Nothing permanent, it claims. Decline, and the apparition shall extend its offer to Ignarius instead. Okay, listen, I know I was like, hey, we should be cheating in the rites, right, if everybody else is going to? But first of all, I really only meant the liberation rite, and secondly, I would feel bad cheating against Ignarius without having any idea that he's actually, like, a bad person. It would be one thing to cheat against Lendl. It's something else to cheat against a guy who's just trying to get home to see his loved ones. We're going to decline this, obviously. Accept with gratitude, or decline with grace. You would not resort to using underhanded tactics against your adversaries, especially since it says here, any edge may be the difference that secures your freedom. The outcome of this match doesn't matter, even a tiny, tiny little bit, so, no. No thank you. Please do not cheat on my behalf. You thank the apparition for its generous offer, but decline, choosing your words with care. The apparition makes no response you can discern. Then it shimmers and is gone. You attempt to set your mind at ease as you return to the Black Wagon to pursue your vocations. This is strange, right? We're not commenting on how weird this is, but this is weird. Okay, let's take a quick look at the roster. How far off is Hedwyn? 600. With full inspiration, he should beat 600 in a single rite, shouldn't he? Yeah, we don't need to train him. What about Wulfred? Wulfred is 1900 away. So, I don't think even if we do train him here, and then we put him in the rite, I still don't think he hits 5. So the training will be 1,000, and then I think you get 350 from participating in a rite, plus some amount for actually winning, or maybe 350 is the total amount you get for winning. But in any case, then it's doubled. But that would still overall only be 1,700 enlightenment. I don't think we'll cap him. We could turn on a Titan Star. What would we get if we capped him? Okay, that's pretty good. I'm worried though if we do run him, maybe he gets banishment sickness and we can't run him again anyway. Like, I'm not gonna worry about it. Maybe we'll just do the study. We could cap a couple of other people. Let's see, we could cap her. Wider angle, that's pretty good. Hex of Victory, not something I'm particularly concerned about. You know what? Let's top off Hedwyn. Or no. That's right. I've already determined I don't need to top off Hedwyn. Yeah, we'll just do a passive, I guess. And here we can play, like... we can play Hedwyn, Pamitha, and Bertrude. And it would be cool if none of them got banishment sickness. If they did, we still have a functional team. Yeah, that seems fine. So let's buff up our readers, whatever it's called. My brain wants to say reader's intuition, but that is 100% definitely wrong. Yeah, reader's influence. Despite your growing knowledge of the Book of Rites, you yet struggle to grasp certain aspects of its teachings. Through greater understanding comes the reader's influence. Let's go for hope again, I think. We have already had it be the case that we've had people come back, just in the last couple of rites, we've had people come back just in time to prevent a score. I would like to attribute that to the 1 point of reader's influence hope we already have. Probably it's not wholly responsible. You extract a deeper meaning from the words and teachings of the Book of Rites, one you feel in your core yet struggle to articulate. Inspiration comes to you in a flash, whether from the book or from within, you cannot tell. Alright, +2 hope for all Nightwings. Hope's good. You know, in-game terms and also kind of broadly in general. Actually, I'm not 100% sure I believe that. Alright, let's go and meet Ignarius, who has a totally sick haircut, by the way. I didn't mention it when we were looking at his sprite a minute ago, but it is a very solid pompadour. I would go like 8, maybe even 9 out of 10. So yeah, we needed to play more in the other arenas. Oh, this is a chapter that's missing stuff. The chapter about the monuments that you play the rites at. Alright, Ron, what's up? Hey, guys, say, what are you doing all the way back here? You know, it's not so bad here, I was thinking, and I got some pretty good stuff. I think you ought to check it out. Yeah, we'll check it out. We'll check it out. So, he's got a lot of Stardust. We don't need a huge amount. I think we're pretty close to maxed on our good trinkets now. Honestly, I don't think we make any transactions at all, probably. Before the final liberation rite, we'll probably spend the last of our money on consumables, but I don't see any reason to spend anything right now. Sorry, Ron. Just not a lot of customers today. Well, you should be used to that by now. Wait. Hey, Ron, I got a transaction for you. He's gonna be so happy. Yo, what are you guys doing back here already? I forgot how much you love mushrooms. Look, we did it. Ah, you guys take care, okay? And thanks for doing business. He loves it when we can do some business. After making all the necessary preparations amid the lush overgrowth of the Ridge of Gaul, you and your companions await the commencement of the rites. It is quieter even than usual at the onset of such events. The lone minstrel appears, bearing some sort of news. I have checked, and it appears as though the Tempers have not yet arrived, reader sir. Yeah, I would not be shocked to see Auralic in their place. There is no sign of Ignarius, or anyone. Their sigil is not set either. Man, I'm really glad that I didn't say yes to that apparition, because I would feel very concerned and complicit right now. If what he says is true, and your adversaries are not present, then you presume the rite cannot commence. Either that, or it's going to be very, very easy. However, the stars themselves soon indicate that you are mistaken. Yeah, alright, I'll dunk on an empty pyre for 30 seconds and just get this over with. Well, I think there's actually no benefit to activating the Titan Stars, because all 3 of the people we intend to run in this rite are going to max out from just the normal Enlightenment, so. It doesn't seem like the Titan Stars are terribly useful, from the perspective of, like, it's not that hard to get Enlightenment. So I guess mostly they're just, you know, fun challenge mode stuff, if you're too good at the game.
The Commonwealth, your home. Today it is aflame. Much like a stack of books. Aflame because of you. Because of your outlandish plan. Not that you care. Not that you shall live to see this place again. Your attempts at revolution shan't succeed. Though by all means keep trying. As for myself, I shall enjoy presiding over these remaining rites.
The rite is set to commence, but your adversaries, they have failed to show. Izo wonders if the Tempers decided not to show, knowing they would not have another chance at the liberation rite. That's true, I didn't really think about that, but I suppose there's not really a strong incentive for them to play unless they just really enjoyed doing it, because their favor was so low. Ah, that probably should have factored into my decision of who we're going to play against, huh? Indeed. As the rites are drawing to a close, some of the triumvirates whom you have met, perhaps they are beginning to decide the stars are not worth heeding any longer. Ignarius. You wonder whether he would give up on the rites like that. He did seem rather disaffected, having failed in the liberation rite before. Perhaps he did finally decide to quit for good. In any case, we have begun the ceremony here, and so I ask that we end it. Yeah. Okay. It's weird, but alright. If somebody shows up, what do we want to have equipped? Maybe this. Maybe Flame Leech is good. The thing is, she's going to be playing defense more this game. Where's the Lanthorn? Let's have her carry this. And then we'll run Headwind with his thing, because his thing is great. We could level that up. One whole extra second. And Pamitha, right? We'll just max Pamitha out. Not a lot of aura width here. This is absurd. Well, whatever. Let's go then. I assume somebody will show up partway through or something.
Lo, even your adversaries have abandoned you, and it is done.
We did it! Yay!
Wings prevail by default.
I just got an
Not that
achievement.
their adversaries even care.
I like how disappointed Headwind looks. Well, that wasn't fun. Did we get any enlightenment for that at all? 'Twas time we wasted here. Although, our kind, we live for very, very long. Okay, Bertrude, thanks for that information. No, we don't get anything. That's a bummer. I was really looking forward to that enlightenment.
You may go now at your earliest convenience.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense for Ignarius to not even bother showing up. What was in it for him? It's a shame. What is this? That's new. No one speaks further of the tempers back at the Black Wagon. Everyone is instead preoccupied with the rite that is to come. Last chance, then, is it? If any of us is going to get out of here still, it's this time or never. The stars always shine with truth. The ending of the cycle of the rites is now upon us. He looks over to you. Please look forth, reader sir, and see this for yourself. You may well surmise where we are going next. Yeah, I feel like I got a pretty good guess. The others turn to you as well. You turn toward the wagon's door. You know what you shall see out there. Now, however, the time has come to face it. The dim and fading light of the final star still pierces through the darkness, demanding your attention, guiding you toward the endpoint of your path. I'm disappointed that I did not manage to learn any more about Ignarius, because like I said, he seemed like an okay dude. Well, this is what that second playthrough is going to be for. Alright, we know where we're going. Out of curiosity, where does the plan sit right now? 76%? I feel alright about that. Everybody's crossed off the list. Even the dissidents. So I guess we know for sure that we're facing Auralic now. Ulfred seems to know that before we do. The true Nightwing is led by the demon Auralic. Your record against them is 1-0, to be fair. What do you think? Oh, we're probably not going to be able to free Headwind now, though, since we weren't able to max him. Shoot, if I had known we weren't going to get any enlightenment on that, I would have trained him up to max with the vocation time. Oh, well. We'll solve this problem when we get to it. I don't know who it's going to let me free. You are summoned to the Fall of Solium for your 7th and final liberation rite. Thus shall the cycle of the rites be ended for an age. It's weird that it's 7 and not 8, right? You sense that, if the rites ever shall commence again, it shall not be during your lifetime, or that of any of your companions, even the longest-lived ones. Sense or imagine, I wonder. The stars revealed to you one thing more. The adversary whom you face shall be Auralic. Already he has crossed Scribe's Gate and awaits your arrival. If the 8 scribes created the Nightwings in their own likeness, perhaps it is only fitting that the Nightwings should, in the end, be forced to face themselves. It is a shame that we should have to confront Auralic in the end. Our goals should never have been at cross purposes. I am surprised that this is what the scribes desire. I think it's what Auralic desires. For now, it may be best that you recover until dawn. Regain your strength as best you can for the coming trial. Rest well, reader. The group disperses as exhaustion sets in. Dawn, you fly to Mount Allodial to make a final effort to achieve your plan and get somebody home. But who? I do wish that I was clearer on what exactly the plan is. I know I am always saying this, but it's because it's always true. Okay, so this is just because I came back to Downside Prairie. This is really the first time I've been back since we were here originally. I guess that makes sense. We have seen the same couple of arenas several times. Take this. Hey, Bertrude, what's going on? I don't like how she's smiling. That makes me nervous. You are unaccustomed to seeing Bertrude smiling, and yet there she is, doing just that. You soon see why. You have observed before how her manner seems to soften, to the degree it can, whenever Wulfred is around. If only I could have seen their faces then. What was your secret, dare I ask, dear Bertrude? It appears that they are reminiscing about old times in the Commonwealth. Flame-resistant inks, Sandalwood. 'Twas the inks themselves which kept those volumes from being burnt to ash. Flame-resistant inks. Of course. The good officers who came to visit, they were so intent on burning all the evidence, they did not stop to think the evidence was fireproof. Alas, that they later found a way to burn thy stamping press regardless. Thy written words, they moved us many times, and many others whom we knew there in the southern bogs. No matter, dear Bertrude. What's done is done. At least we made it difficult for them, is that not so? While introducing some of our fellow citizens to new ideas. Perhaps. My words would not have reached near half as many were it not for you, not to mention how I managed to elude them for another decade or so. I am ever thankful for your sacrifice. Thy thanks shall not be necessary, Sandalwood. Well, you shall have to take them from me anyhow. Thank you, Bertrude, for helping to fulfill a modest author's dreams. What good's a stamping press without good inks? No good at all. They exchange a laugh at this, but then... Even still, and through this new ordeal, thou hast no love for us, is that not so? Bertrude. Nay, we understand full well. Thou needst not further explain thyself. There are different kinds of love, Bertrude. On that account, thou hast nothing to teach us, Sandalwood. They each remain silent for a time. Our hearts, they cannot be controlled, Bertrude. Blessed things they are. They act well on their own. He puts away his pipe. I am blessed to have you in my life, back in the Commonwealth and here as well. I mean that, although I know that is not enough. At first, Bertrude does not seem to acknowledge this in any way, but then... Nay, Sandalwood. It is enough. It is enough. She departs without awaiting a response, brushing past you as she goes. Wulfred soon turns away as well, politely bidding you a good evening. Aw, I feel bad for her. The two old friends have evidently managed their way past certain tensions in their long-standing relationship. They rather seem to draw a certain strength from one another. Well, I mean, good for them, I guess. Not so great for poor Bertrude.
Foolish reader, your so-called friends, you are accomplice to their hateful plot. They are exploiting you. You shall never have your freedom.
Yeah. By dawn, you are already up and about after a troubled slumber. You know what I mean. Troubled slumber. The black wagon is prepared for its final voyage to the fall of Solium. No one speaks. Alright. We still don't really know what the plan is or what the outcomes are going to be. It's entirely possible the voice is right and we're just never getting back. You know what? It is what it is. As you lift into the skies, the lone minstrel raises his voice, cutting through the somber mood. Reader, a certain olden ballad comes to mind just now. I think it may befit the circumstance. Perhaps it may help us pass the time along our flight. Would you mind it very much if I were to play this song for the Nightwings? I mean, yeah, sure, go ahead. A song from the Lone Minstrel may help lift the spirits of our companions. Yeah, maybe. You urge the Lone Minstrel to play his ballads, that all among you might hear it. He begins without another word.
When the stars align, the rites shall come to bear. Illuminate the signs, the exiles shall be there. All are not the same, but three shall be as one. Freedom in the flame, the end has just begun. Strength may break our own, but twisted make up great. Together on their own, the journey shall be made. The journey shall be made.
By the way, they disabled my my fast flying button. In part, obviously, I wanted to let the song play out, because clearly they feel that the song is important. But also, I can't actually fly any faster than this. I figured we could look at all the landscapes one last time, because they really are something else. Alright. Temple High Road. Tizo shall gain favor. Yeah, well, we're definitely running Bertrude, right? She is phenomenally good at keeping the Pyre alive. You touch down amid the sheer cliffs of Mount Allodial to make pilgrimage to the summit for one last time. There, one last liberation rite shall soon commence. There, one last exile shall regain his or her freedom. All others shall remain to carry out their sentences here in the downside for the remainder of their lives. Unless, you know, I still got hope that the plan's gonna change some things, some important things. And, in the Commonwealth, the plan of which you are a part shall either come to fruition or shall be suppressed. Alright. Let's seek some favor. After having landed, you join Bertrude on an expedition to the monument of Molten Malith, for what is likely to be the final time. We beseech ye, ancient gods of the last age, and we invoke thine aid. We have traveled far to gain this summit many times, and stood steadfast with our compatriots who seek to leave this place. We now offer ye our services eternally, if ye would grant us such a boon as to ensure our triumph in the coming night. Long would we serve ye, O ancient gods, should ye accept our offer here and now. Soon she is finished. You return to the wagon in silence, feeling as though Molten Malith has shown you favor. At dawn you shall begin your last ascent. For now, your vocations may occupy what little time you have to spare. Okay. Oh nice, +3 glory. Okay, obviously we mentor Hedwyn so that he is 100% for sure a viable crossover. Because, you know, he's got somebody waiting for him on the other side, and also Hedwyn and Ruki and Jodariel working together. I think that's gotta be good for the plan overall. Yeah. Let's cap Hedwyn out, make absolutely sure he'll be available. You illustrate to Hedwyn some of the intricacies of the rites, focusing on how all three in a triumvirate can move and act as of one mind. You sense he grasps some of the concepts. It's a start. Mastery of the rites. This is just a starting point and not a destination, isn't it? A mark along a path. I wouldn't have come this far unless I'd figured all that out by now. I can only hope what I've learned here can be used to help us in some way. Alright, so what is best of his stuff? When he jumps into people, he banishes them? That's pretty good. Or, oh, yep, regenerate stamina twice as quickly as usual. This might happen maybe once, maybe twice, you know. Actually, I wonder, this isn't worded very precisely. Does this work if he has the orb? Like, if somebody intercepts him in a jump, I imagine it still knocks the orb free, but would this make it easier for us to recover during drives? I don't know. I don't want to try to play with it right now. Let's take this, because this is great. Thank you for the lesson, my friend. It's given me a lot to think about. Alright, yeah, we're sending Hedwyn back. I think that makes the most sense. So, Hedwyn, Wulfred, Bertrude is a pretty formidable triumvirate. I'm sure Auralic will cheat in some incredible way, but I think this is the plan. A messenger imp with news and rumors from the other side comes huffing toward your wagon here in the great heights of Mount Allodial. You let it in and offer it some light refreshment, as Ruki would have done. The imp's message turns out to be about him. Yeah, no big surprise there. You learn Ruki's past transgressions have all been forgiven since his return to the Commonwealth. He was even offered a well-appointed home and place of business. It must have represented just the kind of lavish lifestyle that Ruki always claimed to have had for himself and his extended family. Eventually, and somewhat reluctantly, however, he refused the gifts. Instead, he tracked down Wulfred's agents and gave them ample information, thus emboldening their ranks. There you go, that's the man. The last bit of the message sounds as though it was transcribed word for word from something Ruki said. It simply reads, "The rest of you better get back here soon, or else." You thank the messenger imp for the report. Soon it has all your companions talking. I had every faith that our friend Ruki would stand tall and rise to the occasion. I had most faiths. Let's say almost every faith. Tizo is happy to learn that Ruki joined the revolution in the Commonwealth. Ah, the noble Ruki! He sets a shining example unto us all! The days aren't quite so bright without him, though sounds like he's doing well out there. Hard to believe he would have turned down living in that kind of luxury, though maybe he got used to it out here. We understand this Ruki holds no small degree of influence, at least among his kind. The news of Ruki's liberation fills you and your fellow exiles with newfound resolve. The messenger imp accepts some scraps to eat from you and rushes off. Alright, everybody gets +1 hope. Whew. Ruki's gotta be good for the plan, right? His connections, his ability to influence people. You stand before the Scribe's gate with your companions. The gate guardian is there, as ever, but you sense something different in her. The exiles of the Nightwings. We shall not meet again after the coming rite. Tariq and I. It shall be time we take our rest, I think. Greetings, Celeste. I would tell you that the Nightwings are prepared, though this time I am uncertain anyone amongst us feels thus. We have a duty to uphold, Tariq. And then what, Celeste? And then nothing. Not for the rites or us. Not till the dawn of a new age. Now, Nightwings, step forward. Please state your names and what it is that you seek whilst crossing Scribe's Gate. One by one your fellow exiles approach her, now with sureness in their step. We are called Big Bertrude. We seek to fulfill the plan of Sandalwood, for we are fond of him and his beliefs, and then to go about our business. 76. It's a fine number. Even if we lose this, we'll be okay. Sir Gilman of the Sea Dominion at your service. This knight's never-ending quest for honor shan't end here. Yet first, he has a noble duty to uphold. I'm Hedwyn. I wanted, more than anything, to see the one I love back on the other side. But I think I'll be okay. So I just want my friends to be okay as well. Tizo believes that his ancestors are watching over the Nightwings, and he seeks to live up to their legacy. My name is Volfred Sandalwood. I long as yet to see an age where freedom is one's birthright, and no longer are good people such as these forced to contend for it. Tamitha Thane here. I came seeking my blood sister Tamitha's forgiveness, since she ended up in here because of me. Maybe something good can come of it, as yet. You know, looking at it, Hedwyn's also the only one who really wants to go back, isn't he? Tamitha got Tamitha back across. Tizo lives here. This is his home. Bertrude seems fine here. She seems to like it. Volfred understands that the plan requires certain things. It has to be Hedwyn. I guess it could be Gilman, but it's going to be Hedwyn. Finally, you step forth once more. You, a common wanderer who vowed to help his friends be free again, and who managed to come this far with this group. Gate Guardian observes you for a moment, then motions past the archway toward the summit. The 8 scribes bid the Nightwings welcome. Go forth with glory. Except for you, Tariq. You stay right here. I thought you said... The rites are not yet ended, Tariq. He looks to her, then over to the rest of you. Pardon me, everyone. I shall be there when the stars align. The Gate Guardian and the Lone Minstrel remain together as the rest of you depart. Alright. This is likely to be the last thing we get to do. So I guess now would be the time to read the book, but I don't know about you guys. I can't not see what happens. I would go insane. So we're gonna finish this, and I will post a video of the book. If it takes me playing through the game again to get to this point in a new playthrough so that we can read the book from there, that's what I'll do. But for now, we're continuing. You have gained the summit of Mount Allodial for the 7th time, the final time in which any one of you shall have a chance to leave the downside. Alright, do we have any more mushrooms? No, we have picked our final mushroom. Let's take a look at everybody's keepsakes one more time. Tizo's chilling out in the rafters. When we play with this, it upsets some of the drive imps. We got this cool river frost from Sklorian Shore, so cold it can burn the skin. Here's a reasonable likeness of Ruki, his mother, and uncle. May they have reunited by now. Yeah, definitely. Tariq is off doing whatever. We got all these old raiments. Here's this chubby drive imp. I like to poke him. He seems to like it too, I think. Jodariel's Howler Rug sends their ilk a clear message, while reminding you of Jodariel. Edwin's watching the sky. My suspicion is, feeling a little bit nervous. Tamitha's meditating. Bertrude is channeling her ancestors. Is that good for us? I'm not even sure. Here's our weird xylobones. Sir Gilman's crest. I don't know how he carries this around. Probably in his mouth, I guess? He's off praising the Underking. Oh, so fierce. A tiny tempest. Entertaining, but would unleash calamity if ever it were to be unbottled. It is pretty cool. We got these singing sands from Jomur Valley. They're not really singing that much. The magma mug provides a bit of warmth on cold nights. We keep it on the other side of the wagon from the river frost, you know, just in case. Oh. That may actually be the first time I've ever clicked on that. Lay's Scribe Catcher. The bundle of sticks she insisted on hanging in the rafters. She wanted you to keep it. And then, of course, we've got our various fish. And our waking wood wisps. They provide a scarce bit of light when it is needed, all for a low monthly fee. I did not realize that they were getting a cut. And, of course, our new downside clinger. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm a little nervous about where this is going to go from here. Not much for it, though. Alright, let's say hi to Falcon Ron one last time. Hey, guys. I guess you probably heard the big news, huh? Yeah, I'm going out of business here, I guess. Just hasn't been the same, you know, what with the stars all fading out and stuff. Anyways, just wanted to say you guys are great, and I sure am going to miss having you guys as customers and all of that. But I got some good news, though, too. All of my stuff, it's all on sale now, and I'll throw a little extra in there just for you, okay? So, enjoy, and maybe I'll be seeing you guys around, okay? Yeah, maybe some of us. Henceforth, all of Falcon Ron's goods are 5% off. Great. Alright, well, 5 whole percent. You know what I appreciate about Falcon Ron is the consistency of his character. So, somebody's getting +4 quickness, right? Presence and hope are both fine. Oh hey, let's sell this mushroom. We might actually be able to afford multiples. So like we could sell off some stuff we know we won't use. I'm a little reticent to sell off anybody's legendary talismans because those are neat. But succeeding in the final rite does seem awfully important. So this one's cheaper than the other two for some reason. Yeah, they're not all the same price. Don't know why. So let's see here. 28 and 31. Could we reasonably get to 59? Yeah. What do we have that I don't really care about? Well, anything that's equipped, obviously, is something that I cared about. At this point, they're kind of like keepsakes, though. Are we going to use this thing? Let me think. We're going to want the Flame Leech on Bertrude, the Lanthorn on Headwind, or the Lanthorn on Volfred, and Headwind's Trinket on Headwind. So I'm actually going to sell off our Scribe Rock. It has been good to us. We've picked up a lot of cool stuff. So let's take the plus quickness thing, obviously. Maybe I just give everybody +4 quickness? Hope is awfully important too. I'm less concerned about presence. I wonder if we'll be allowed to buff people with multiple... Like, can we give one person multiple serums? Let's buy all the quickness things and one for hope as well. I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to be able to do. Alright, thanks, Ron. I don't even know if we're going to actually be able to use all these, because it may be like only one serum per rite or something per person. Pleasure doing business with you guys, so, poor Ron. He's too emotional even to tell us how he really feels. Okay, this is our final opportunity to liberate one of our fellow exiles and help fulfill Volfred's plan. Here we go. You have gained the summit of Mount Allodial for the 7th time. Very few stars remain above to light your way as you await the commencement of the final liberation rite. The lone minstrel finds you clutching the Book of Rites, seeking there, perhaps, some bit of wisdom that has eluded you thus far. Reader, we may not have a chance to speak again after this. I may have to go. I wish to say that I am grateful for having made your acquaintance, and I shall remember you with fondness. I wish you well this night and always. Go forth with glory. Then he looks up and he extends his hand in friendship. You clasp it. Apparently quite hard, so hard it shook his entire body there for a moment. You see Sir Gilman has joined you. All of your companions are there with him, in fact, but obviously Sir Gilman is the vanguard, as is befitting. Master Reader, it has been this knight's greatest honor to have served with you. Let this be our most glorious stand yet. Reading 1. Thou art both wiser and less irritating than most others of thy kind. We have learned something from thee, and we are grateful. Tizo wants you to know that he has the utmost faith in you. I believe it. Look at those eyes. Little dude wouldn't lie to us. Well, reader darling, what do you say we give those old scribes a real show to remember then, shall we? Let's get through this one together, my friend. We all believe in you. It is strange for me to say, given the circumstances of our meeting, reader, but it has truly been a pleasure. Onward now. Let us achieve our plan. Look upon your fellow exiles, your companions, with whom you have withstood the downside, and with whom you shall now conduct this final rite. Begging your pardon, but my time has come. We shall see each other soon. He departs. After this night, the outcome of Wulfred's plan, the plan of which you have all been a part, shall be decided. One way or another. For now, all you can do is strive to prevail against your final adversaries, so that one last companion may go free. You rise to join your fellow exiles as the last remaining stars ignite. The final liberation rite of this age shall now commence. Yeah, we gotta get Hedwyn out of here, right? No, absolutely not. No Titan stars. What, are you kidding? I'm not nearly good enough at this game for that. You need but take the final steps upon your quest for freedom. It might be a little more complicated than that.
For one last time, upon the fall of Solium, dear reader, hear me for one last time. For soon, the few remaining stars shall fade away, leaving you stranded there for your remaining days in that forsaken land where you deserve to be. The rabble that you roused here in the Commonwealth shall be put down. The exiles whom you liberated, all shall fall in line. But first, let us get on with this last liberation rite. You face none other than yourselves. Each so unlike the glorious nightwings of yore. 'Tis a shame that one of you shall soon be free, for you deserve each other.
I wonder what the outcome of it would be if Auralic made it back to the other side. Like, once there, what would he do? Might he actually be good for the plan? I don't know. In any case, we gotta get Hedwyn back across. The pyres burn, and each of the triumvirates is present and prepared. But before the lone minstrel can concur, as per the custom... Not another word! The demon Auralic slowly raises his clawed fingers to his mask. The false nightwings have arrived at last. Long have I awaited this. My freedom once was stolen from me. Then I was cheated of it here upon this mountaintop. You may now attempt to take it from me once more. He stands there for a moment, silent. Then, Auralic dons his mask and stands prepared. May these damned rites cease forever for the misery which they caused. Okay, he's got a high-level Ashen Coal. Nightwings, we shall not meet again after tonight, for the cycle of the rites is all but ended. Thus, I would have your decision. On whose behalf shall you conduct this final liberation rite? The one whom you anoint, or else the exile Auralic shall be returned. Godspeed, reader. You know what is at stake better than I. I have utmost faith in you to make the best decision and conduct this rite with glory. Nightwings, the star's remaining light grows dim. Your decision, please. Yeah, we've already made it. It is now time to choose who, if anyone among you, shall go free this one last time. The rest of you shall remain in the downside to the end of your days. I still have hope. One by one, you meet the gazes of each of your fellow exiles. Sir Gilman, Bertrude, Hamatha, Izo, Volfred, Hedwin. Did they think I forgot? I know who my fellow exiles are. Your fellow exiles, your companions, your friends. Together you have come this far, but now the downside and the rites conspire to tear your group apart and disrupt your plan. Are you prepared to choose this one last time? Boy, it seems both cruel and unfair to have to make such a decision. I would argue that it also seems very cruel and unfair not to make the decision. This is my job in this. Fate of your friends in the Commonwealth may hinge on the decision you are about to make. Let's do it. With but a glance, you reassure your fellow exiles that you know what to do.
One final opportunity for salvation. Too bad for the rest of you.
Yeah, it's Hedwin. Wait. But... So we'll try a quickness on each person, and also Sun Serum on Bertrude, probably. The most likely outcome, right, a thing that's going to happen frequently, provided I'm any good at this at all, is Hedwin's gone because he scored. And then Bertrude tries to score but gets eliminated, and then I have to play goalie with Volfred until Bertrude comes back. She's the one who needs to come back the fastest. Alright, you're the man. Reader, my friend, everyone, no matter what happens here tonight, thank you, and I love you all. Your choice is cast. As for your other companions, you sense a clarity of thought and purpose in each of them. They stand ready to support Hedwin, as well as you.
Who shall lend him support?
Okay, so Bertrude is getting the hope. And then can we also give her quickness? We can, okay. She takes the Lanthorn. No, she takes the Flame Leech. Volfred gets the Lanthorn. I'm really glad we went and got this thing. It has been excellent. Thy will is ours, Reading One. Let the remaining stars shed their last light upon our ceremony here. Okay. Assuredly, my boy. Besides, we stand against Auralic. It is fitting that I should have to confront him myself. It's also sort of fitting for Tizo to be here. I'm a little bummed that I couldn't figure that out. But this is what I think we need to win.
Very well.
Those are to be my adversaries, then. And who is it, I wonder, who asserts his will over that group? You sense Auralic searching for you, almost reaching out to you. You, the shadow of the false Nightwings. They are nothing to me, but you who would relinquish your own liberty for sake of them? Strange. It is fitting, then, that I should have to face one such as you. Yeah, alright, I guess there's a parallel, sort of. Then Auralic stands at the ready, signaling for his two allies to do the same. So Nomad, Demon, Imp. That's a good team. We'll have to be careful. By light of dawn, the cycle of the rites shall cease. Let us see if we can finish this ordeal before that time. I imagine these are not terribly long, usually. The sky above begins to shudder. The final liberation rite is about to commence. Tariq. Aye. I am prepared, Celeste. Then, let our song this evening shake the stars themselves. I may try not to talk very much during this final rite so that you guys can hear the final song. Aye, Celeste. Let us make sure of it. Besides that, you know how my strategy works at this point anyway. I haven't developed any new tech for this final one. Here we go.
The final chance at liberation for the age.
Actually. Good start. You wear the raiments once again. I could not simply stand by and do nothing, Auralic. Yet that is what you did. When last we stood together on this blasted mountain, I fell. You simply stood. Auralic, what shall it take for you to be convinced I took no part in your betrayal? Auralic seems to consider the question, but only for a moment. Give me my damn freedom. Let me prevail, here and now. Would you promise to uphold our plan, to bring about a better Commonwealth? No, I make no promises. I owe you nothing. Then, I am sorry, Auralic. My love of country comes before all else. More than your freedom and our friendship is at stake. Your love be damned, Volfred. Let us stand as adversaries, then. Ah. Oh, that was very smart. Shoot. Walk into the sapling. The sky rains ash. Soon shall your Pyre's own mingle with them. Just then, the skies above begin to rain down fire. The final throes of the cycle of the rites, and the ending of the age. Uh-oh. Well. Ah. Ah, failed my jump. Damn it. Jumps are still too slow.
Someone grasp the orb. Resplendent.
This is hard.
The Nightwing shall prevail at this rate. Indeed.
This is bad. I was hoping that the pushback would get me out of their auras. Alright, I don't have a jump, by the way, with Volfred, so I'm not really that good at defending against an imp. I'm not going to be able to get close enough to him, I'm just going to wait. Bertrand will be back. Ah, shoot. I ran into that. He's got it.
Unfortunate.
Okay, Bertrude's still protecting the Pyre, though.
Your adversary's fire now burns brighter than your own.
Oh wow, his leap is very long range. Ah boy. Ah, you jerks. Alright, that looks pretty good.
The bog thrown
Ooh.
down into the flame.
This is very hard. So, the false Nightwings bear their fangs at last. But that cannot be your finest effort. You think you deserve your freedom more than I? Then fight for it, damn you. Hey, I'm doing alright here, buddy. Lay off.
How he has changed, that Auralic. Grown old and bitter lo these many years.
Ah. Shoot. I can't get over there fast enough.
None left unscathed.
Yeah, come get the ball. Oh, wow. He is much faster than I am. Like, a lot faster than I am. Alright, we're coming back. We're coming back. Ah. Too slow on the jump start up still. He's in that. Come on. Ah, well, crap. Boy, he can throw the ball and then immediately power cast. I do not have the same ability as far as I'm aware. We're ahead. Trying to make him spend his jump early. Ah. Didn't have enough stamina to jump. Ah. Never quite enough. Just try to get him to stand still so that the thing falls on him there. There we go, there we go. Ooh, that was real close. I almost got caught. Unfortunately, I believe their Pyre has one more health than Bertrude deals when she lands in it, so that's unfortunate. Oh no, Fulford. Okay. I moved him far enough out. Trying to keep him close enough to the sapling for the... Alright, that was a pretty good power cast right there. Oh, come on. Shift. Shift! Nah. It's really, really hard to score with Wolfred. I'm having a real tough time with it. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Oh boy. Ah! That was close. I almost made it there. Oh, wow. Okay, well. That was a bad place for Bertrude to be standing. Oh, you're kidding me! I cleared the Pyre. That's embarrassing. I hadn't quite spawned all the way in yet when he did his power cast. That was very close. Well, shoot. I just fell for that. Ah. These guys are way better at that throw the ball to your adversaries thing than any other team we've played against. Oh, that's a point. That's a point. Okay, any score now. Anybody gets it in. We could even do a throw-in for the last one. All of you, you shall rot here. You shall rot as I have all these many years. You false Nightwings who would deny me once again my rightful liberty. You who deny that liberty to all of the triumvirates you face and vanquish under the guise of the traditions of those blasted scribes. Come. Let us continue with this glorious affair. Alright, buddy. Listen, nobody loves this tradition. Oop. Kind of missed the orb entirely. Ah, couldn't quite make the jump. Yeah, that was pretty good. Retreat, get the ball and run! No! Ah! Okay, just buy time until she comes back, because I do not trust myself to score with Volfred. Ah! Almost cleared his aura. Thing is, even if they do score here, we'll still be quite a bit ahead. Really, that didn't catch him. Ah. Did you see that? His jump knocked Bertrude all the way to the other end of the map.
I'll take it.
No! I was within the circle. For sure.
A foul turn for the true Nightwings.
Whew,
And there
alright.
it is, at last. The Nightwings proved their worth.
Good, I feel really good about that.
Which left little room for doubt.
Bertrude is borderline overpowered,
Liberation right.
as is Volfred.
Thus, the scribes have chosen to die.
We did it, my friend, we did it! You look upon Hedwyn for what you expect shall be the last time you see each other. Any moment now the Shimmer Pool shall engulf him. Any moment now he shall return to glory and join with Volfred's agents in the Commonwealth to help achieve the plan. Which I think, like, I believe in this group of people to get the thing done. Any moment now the cycle of the rites shall end, until at least the dawn of a new age. Any moment now is being said a lot in a way that's making me think that some things are not going to happen any moment now. Any moment now,
And thus, the scribes have chosen. And thus, the scribes have chosen. And thus, the scribes have chosen. No. Nightwings. Reader. What have you done?
Wait, what's happening? What's going on? Each prior time upon the fall of Solium, the Shimmer Pool has opened following the Liberation Rite, and taken in whichever exile prevailed. But now all is still, and the light of the stars above has all but died. You sense a growing fear that it is already too late, that the Shimmer Pool shall not reveal itself again. Auralic approaches, his head bowed. The 8 scribes saved their greatest treachery for last. Then, something else catches his notice. Wait. A sudden rush of starlight cascades through the stillness of the summit. The Shimmer Pool has appeared again. Different, somehow, but open. Hedwyn looks upon it, but it does not engulf him, or at least not yet. It seems I was mistaken, then. The 8 scribes. This is not their greatest treachery. It is their greatest jest. The Shimmer Pool is flung wide open. It seems that all are worthy now of freedom. Auralic strides toward the Shimmer Pool, but... Halt, Auralic! Auralic glances over at the lone minstrel, almost in surprise. Almost in surprise, really? The Shimmer Pool has lost most of its strength. You step inside, and you shall surely drown, of that I can assure you. He laughs to himself at this. Then we have all been cheated. No. the Shimmer Pool is revealed, and one of you may still return as planned. But, as for who returns, someone shall have to choose, ere the last light of the stars is extinguished and the rites cease to be. This is the final trial of the scribes. The final trial of the scribes. Then, our confrontation, the liberation rite. It was all meaningless? No. The victor of the confrontation is to be the one to make the choice, among those closest to the scribes. Either the anointed, or he who anointed them. Are you saying then that I could set the reader free, or free myself instead? Aye. It shall be either you, the reader, or... It shall be either or. Edwin, please make your decision quickly, lest it shall be forfeit. I do not know for how much longer the light of the stars shall offer you this gift. Well, then, my decision is simple. Edwin, I swear to God, if you send me back instead of you after everything that we just went through... Reader, my friend, I want you to be free. You're free. Edwin wishes to give up his freedom so that you may regain yours. That's not the plan, man. Very well. Reader, sir, the choice which Edwin made, or rather the choice which he gave, it is now yours to make instead. This choice, it may keep bouncing back and forth like this? Absurd. It may, until such time as one of you is willing to accept the burden and the outcome of the choice. That is the trial, and I fear that there is little time remaining now. Reader, if you and your companion are too cordial with each other to accept that freedom, either one of you, then I shall gladly take it. Freedom ought to be more than some flirtatious trifle to exchange. Reader, what is your will? Yeah, we're not sending Auralic back. Screw that noise. Edwin, dog, you gotta go. The whole thing is you gotta go. Stop trying to be noble and just do the thing. You are decided. You have chosen Edwin. For real, don't you dare pass this back. He looks at you with some astonishment. Edwin, sir, do you accept the reader's choice, or shall you make another? I accept. Reader, my friend, thank you. Thank you. Then, it is done. You see a look of genuine surprise flash across Edwin's face, and then... he is gone. You gave a chance at freedom so that Edwin may yet have his. Yeah, he's got, we don't know for sure that his harp lady is still out there, but presumably she is, right? And, no, this makes sense. This is what it had to be. May he return in glory.
Godspeed, Edwin. By the scribes. No stars remain aloft. The cycle of the rites. It is finished. The Commonwealth. What shall become of it? What shall become of us? Nightwings. The opportunity to gain your freedom from the downside. Was it not enough?
I don't know. It felt like enough. That night, the exile Edwin returned to the Commonwealth. He was to be the last. I mean, if it is, so be it. The stars had faded, and the cycle of the rites had run its course. He found the Commonwealth in a state of unrest. That'll be Ruki's fault. Spurred by the efforts of 3 liberated exiles, Vulfred Sandalwood's revolutionary plan had incited the masses. These exiles and the starless sky portended the return of the Scribes. The rulers of the Commonwealth pushed back. Fighting broke out in the streets, in spite of Sandalwood's intentions. It was then that the winged High-Wing remnants chose to strike. Allegations that the High-Wing remnants were in league with Sandalwood were never proven. However, there was no denying the result of the two-pronged attack. After enduring for almost a millennium, the Commonwealth had fallen. The new Saurian Union declared its sovereignty in the next year. Among the changes its elected leaders ushered in, they vowed never to cast their people into exile. And they abolished the old Commonwealth decree forbidding literacy. I wonder if that goes exactly the same way. Like, I wonder if the people that get freed have an effect on how this event goes. Today, we still remember all of this. And we remember the exiles of the downside, whose deeds led to the dawning of our age, whether they returned or not. Yeah, so I had hope based on something that I felt that Wulfred was implying, that on the other side, they would be able to sort of open the way. But I think if the rest of us had to remain, it was the right group that stayed. Right? Wulfred and Bertrude are fine down here. Tizo's from here. This is where Tizo belongs. And Gilman, well, he has us for company. And Pamitha at least has the guilt of Tamitha off of her mind. Are these interactable? Can I? Oh, good! After his liberation, Hedwyn was instrumental in the events leading to the fall of the Commonwealth, and was vital to the outcome of the plan. I wonder if it's possible for the plan to fail. I bet it's not. Maybe, though, if you do a better job, it's less violent or something? I bet there's a bunch of versions of that ending text at the very least. He was the first friendly face you encountered in the downside, and has regained his freedom, as it should have been. We did a good thing here. He was the one who led the raid on the stronghold where Archjustice Androboles IX was holed up when the fighting grew fierce. With him, then and thereafter, was one of the winged harps of the High-Wing remnants, later identified as Fikani Shang. Yes, see, we did the right thing. Their bond was vital to the peace that followed. In all his days as a leader in the Saurian Union, Hedwyn oft confided in his friend Jodariel. Despite her intense manner, there was no one whom he trusted more in times when circumspection was required. Hedwyn would often think back about the vow he made at the beginning of his quest for freedom. Although he cherished all the friendships he made, he had pledged to Jodariel, Ruki Greentail, and the Reader of the Nightwings that they might all be free again together. He had broken that vow, for, in the end, not all of them were able to return. A terrible guilt over this darkened his mood for a time. However, the others whom he still knew lifted his spirits, much like he had often lifted theirs. All of the Nightwings knew the stakes, and I hope he took some solace in the fact that I could have gone, and I made him go instead. Right, like he had to know I was okay with it. While the others who stood with the Nightwings were not all able to remain in contact thus, Hedwyn thought of each of them, and so, in turn, did they oft think of him. Once the rites had ended, the Imp Tizo had a job to do, quite unlike most exiles trapped forever in the downside. The lone minstrel asked that he watch over the Black Wagon, which the Nightwings had used extensively for travel and for shelter all throughout their quest. Tizo obliged, for he knew that wagon as well as its drive-imp inhabitants, perhaps better than anyone. What became of the wagon exactly was never verified, as evidence of Tizo's thorough work. After that, he liked to while away his days with any of his friends, or else with fellow imps. Sandalwood sometimes called for his assistance, and Tizo was always happy to oblige. The two would often reminisce about their times with the lone minstrel. He often chirped about the Reader of the Nightwings, with whom he built quite a rapport. The Reader understood him perhaps better than anyone. Indeed, Tizo would often express wistful gratitude for all his time with the Nightwings, and their many adventures throughout the land that was always his home. Other than that, Tizo would sometimes help interpret for messenger imps relaying news to and from the Saurian Union. Despite having gained significant celebrity abroad, he never let it go to his head. And he would go fishing in the Sea of Solace at every single chance he got. We do know he has some strong feelings about fish. Hey, what happened to Falconron? With the rites drawn to a close, the slug market's revenues fell precipitously, and Falconron was forced to liquidate his assets and close up shop. Did we give him the wagon? Tizo got rid of the wagon. I hope that he gave it to Falconron. Yet, as is sometimes the case with those of an entrepreneurial leaning, this time of hardship led to an epiphany, or at least a sudden change of fortune. One day, Falconron had a run-in with a messenger imp bearing news from the other side. Ron gave to it one of his remaining trinkets, which could not be sold. Following week, the messenger imp returned to him bearing a tidy sum of wealth in newly minted coinage from the Saurian Union. Our nation formed in 839 AS after the fall of the Commonwealth. I'd gotten so used to not mousing over the red text because I know what it all says that I kind of forgot to do this one. One day we all may stand shoulder to shoulder with a common cause. Falconron cut a long-term deal with the messenger imp then and there. Though his trade remained a gray area from a legal standpoint in the Saurian Union, the newfound fame of the downside caused Falconron's goods to explode in popularity. He later signed an elaborate agreement with Big Bertrude's and found a distribution partner on the other side through Ruki Greentail, whose own business had expanded. Especially in the Saurian Union, Falconron's goods are still known for their superior quality, though he assumes no liability for the side effects. That's really cool. That would not have worked out quite that way if we had not kept Bertrude on this side and sent Ruki to the other. Let's see what's up with the other triumvirates before we continue with our own. As the cycle of the rites drew to a close, it grew evident that a chance at freedom from the downside had forever slipped from Dalbert and Almer Oldheart's grasp, and I do feel bad about this one more than any other. Thus, they and the exiles of the Fate returned to Jomuir Valley. There they struggled to get by, as exiles of the downside tend to do. Some time after the rites had ended, the Old Hearts at last heard the news that the Commonwealth had fallen. This was well after the fact, of course, but it brought old Dalbert great joy. Despite his forthright manner, he had no love for the nation that cast him down along with his son. Dalbert Oldheart passed peacefully in his sleep before the next new moon. In his final days, he implored his son to undertake a pilgrimage to the Scribes. Elmer never shared his father's view of the Scribes, but respected Dalbert's wishes, and so, after a period of mourning, Elmer began a new journey. Not a day went by that Elmer Oldheart did not think about his father, and give thanks to him, and speak to him at morning and at night. Would that the stars yet shone, for surely Dalbert's would be there among them, smiling down at his son and watching over him and his kin. I do feel a little bit bad for Elmer. If Lay had stayed on this side, I'm sure things would have been easier for him. Oh yeah, we need to... Let's read a couple more of these first. After the final liberation rite, Lendel refused to believe that the rites had truly ended. He would sit through night after consecutive night, staring into the blackness of the sky, awaiting any kind of sign that he might gain another chance at freedom. No such sign ever came. His fellow accusers started to express concern for him. Survival had become their top priority once liberty had slipped from their grasp. But Lendel dismissed them as weak fools. He insisted, rather forcefully, that any evening now the stars would shine for him again and mark the way toward his inevitable freedom. He was, of course, mistaken. The others in his triumvirate were left with little choice but to abandon him. After that, the exile known as Lendel the Liar was never seen again. However, there have since been sightings of a bedraggled demon who wanders the downside and bears Lendel's cruel countenance, suggesting he yet lives. I don't guess that there could have been much of a happy ending for Lendel, especially not a happy ending for Lendel and also other people. All his life, Sir Deluge had fled from one danger only to find himself facing another. He had escaped the war-torn waters of the Sea Dominion, he had escaped the blood border of the Commonwealth, and now he had escaped the rites. After the rites had ended, many exiles wrapped up in the ancient test were crestfallen, as their last chances to return to their homes vanished along with the stars above. But Deluge did not mind, for this outcome meant that, at last, there was no burden of responsibility weighing down on him. Having heard that Sir Gilman had also remained behind, Deluge made a point of avoiding him at all costs. Nonetheless, they ran into each other once, riding a cold current in the Sea of Solace. The meeting was terse and cordial. Deluge ended up apologizing profusely for his mistreating his fellow Worm Knight, and that was the end of it. While most of his fellow exiles of the Pyre Hearts yet longed for the waters of the Sea Dominion, driven as ever by their impulses toward conflict, Deluge settled down. With him remained one of his companions, one Lady Seagrass, who had taken a liking to him for some reason. Reportedly, they disappeared into the waters of Worm Gulf, which may begin to explain the significant increase in worm population observed in the vicinity. Well, that's about as well as that could have gone, I suppose. Barker Ashpaws never had much interest in returning to the Commonwealth, for he always found its bylaws to be stifling, so when the rites ended, he did not care. At first. He soon grew very bored. The rites had given his life a certain sense of structure he had always needed. He missed the raw anticipation of it all. He decided to continue conducting the rites for the thrill of it. He bent some of the rules and replaced some of the objects, but it was close enough. His packmates, the Dissidents, proved more than happy to participate, and thus they ran against each other back in Jomur Valley. Gradually, other exiles familiar with the rites, as well as those who had not heard of it at all, started to take an interest. They ended up giving Barker Ashpaws some healthy competition. His old feud with Ruki Greentail ceased meaning anything to him, and he forgot all about it amid his new pursuits. Ultimately, even Barker Ashpaws, who had led such a directionless existence to that point, found something of a calling through the rites. I was going to say, it seems odd that Lendl would be unable to stir the rites back up, given that there have to be some people here who need the rites far more than they needed what they represented. But I guess, given that Lendl never had much care for the rites themselves, or really much love for anything, he wouldn't be included. Probably for the best, for everyone. Whether he took the rites less seriously than any other exile of his time, or more, was oft debated by those who watched him work. And so, Barker Ashpaws led the downside equivalent of the still-running Slamball League. By the way, Slamball's awesome. Once it became clear to Ignarius that the rites were drawing to a close, he knew that it was time for him and the Tempers to call it quits. Also, I'm really bummed that we only got to hear his theme once, because it's real good. But first, he and the Tempers decided to celebrate, and that they did for many, many nights. The revelry did eventually subside. The exiles parted amicably and went their separate ways. He roamed the downside then, searching for some meaning in his life, sometimes taking odd jobs requiring his brute strength. He never remained alone for very long, and took on many lovers in his time. However, he sometimes thought about the one he had called Curlyhorns, and what became of her. Though his glory days as the most powerful conductor of the rites had long since passed, he always enjoyed the fearsome reputation he had cultivated at that time. We probably ought to know what happened to Auralic, although I suspect that I will not be super pleased with what we're about to learn. After the Shimmer Pool closed for what would be the last time, Auralic looked around him in the flickering light of the Nightwing's still-burning pyre. He then turned to the fall of Solium, and looked up toward the black, starless sky. He cursed the 8 scribes then, one after the other. After that, he strode forward towards the waters coursing from the side of Mount Allodial, and, without hesitating, he cast himself down. Auralic's body was never recovered. The drop from Mount Allodial does not appear survivable, although Auralic did survive it once. That time, however, he was filled with fury. Such was the betrayal he had suffered when his fellow exile claimed his rightful freedom. This time, Auralic was filled with nothingness. and chose to leave the downside in the one way he still knew he could. The other Nightwings who were witness to this never forgot what they saw. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I do feel bad for him. He never really did anything wrong. He just got completely screwed and then could never get over it in a way that I think is 100% understandable. I suppose there couldn't really be a happy ending to his story. I'm sure he would not really have been happy once he got back to the other side, because he kind of got consumed by the thing. But absolutely none of it was ever his fault. Alright, let's examine the rest of our failures before we find out what happened to the rest of our friends. After her liberation, Witch Udmilda fled to her native home in the southern bogs, rejecting all festivities and honors she could have received. She was never again seen during the events that transpired in and around the Commonwealth. Some of those with knowledge of the rites and the legends of the downside suggest she willingly cast herself back into exile to be closer to Islak. Other rumors suggest that her obsession with pyromancy and the dark arts ultimately consumed her. If she lives, for her kind are able to live for many centuries, there is no telling where. Her repeated threats of the return of Islak were thoroughly investigated, and no credence was found to any of her claims. Okay, I mean, that didn't turn out so poorly. It could certainly have been a lot worse. As soon as possible after Tamitha Thane earned back her liberty, she rejoined her sisters of the Highwing remnants in the mountains north of the Commonwealth. They maintained the last we heard of her was that she had been held for questioning. But this is one of the things I was thinking about when I said I wonder if the events of the epilogue there are always the same, because Tamitha is probably somewhat responsible for the attack for the Highwing remnants, right? And in the end, her regaining her freedom may have been a good thing, although I suspect that it led to somewhat more deaths than otherwise would have happened. The Commonwealth believed that someone such as she could be rehabilitated through years spent in exile. Instead, her hatred for her ancient enemies only intensified. It turns out punitive incarceration not actually effective. On the night of the Scribe's return, the Highwing remnants were poised to strike the Commonwealth in a decisive blow. Inspired by the liberated exiles, the people of the Commonwealth demanded new leadership. Okay, the Scribe's return is how that event is known. Cast yourselves down! Cast yourselves down! Chant from the Scribe's return. They had received credible intelligence about the expected positions of the Commonwealth leadership, and of specific weaknesses in the blood border defenses anticipated that night. After a surgical procedure, Tamitha could fly again, almost as well as prior to her exile. She insisted on spearheading the attack with a squadron of the Harp's finest. I saw the word surgical and assumed that it would be like, referring to a surgical strike, and so I accented this a little strangely. She had some surgery. They descended on their foes exactly as planned. The chaos that had arisen in the streets of the Commonwealth that night made for an optimal diversion. Nonetheless, the battle took its toll. Many of Tamitha's sisters fell. She herself sustained many grievous wounds, but ignored them all and fought with a terrible fury. By dawn, the leaders of the Commonwealth had been eliminated, and Tamitha was limping back toward the mountains. She would never fly again. Soon after the fall of the Commonwealth, Tamitha attended a debriefing in which she learned her blood sister, Pamitha, was an accessory to the successful outcome. Tamitha was very skeptical of this, but so many of the Highwing remnants honored Pamitha that Tamitha soon accepted the prevailing opinion, though grudgingly at first. A messenger imp later arrived, bearing some sort of message seemingly from Pamitha. However, Tamitha turned it away. She forever resisted the impulse to forgive. After the rise of the Saurian Union, Tamitha Thane continued to serve as flight tactician, and remained respected and feared, even among her kind. However, without a war to wage, she grew more distant even than usual. Those closest to her surmised that her inability to reconcile with her blood sister was at the heart of this, though, for her part, Tamitha never once admitted to any such weakness. I wonder if there is a way to actually get Tamitha to accept and forgive Pamitha. Their story, I think, is really interesting, because it's so different if both of them end up liberated than it is if either one of them end up liberated, and again, than it is if neither of them end up liberated. I'd really like to see all the variants of that one. Alright. Here's hoping Manly Tinderstuff found himself horribly, horribly wounded in the Scribe's return. Because we all know that if he's still in there, he's up to no good. After returning to the Commonwealth, Manly Tinderstuff soon earned his place among the country's veiled leaders. However, it did not lead to the extravagance which he imagined. Commonwealth was in the midst of a social upheaval, and the leaders of the nation scrambled to find a way to quell the public outcry. Tinderstuff saw it as an opportunity to get ahead and presented an outlandish idea. He confronted the teeming masses and delivered a speech in which he claimed to be Scolarian 100 Minds, reborn, and ordered the people to stand down. It was then that someone threw an empty bottle at him. Outraged, Tinderstuff ordered the constables of peace to sweep the crowd and find the perpetrator. Yeah, that sounds like him. During the commotion, the assault of the High-Wing remnants began. Tinderstuff was later found cowering under a stairwell. After the fall of the Commonwealth, he struggled to hold on to his fleeting social status, and resorted once again to the kinds of bribery attempts that got him exiled long ago. He was caught again and put on trial again, though this time the punishment was not exile but community service. Tinderstuff used his family's riches to fight back against the sentence and soon was destitute. He can still be seen cleaning the streets and parks at the center of the Saurian Union. There, he is more than willing to give his side of the story to whomever asks or is in earshot. Well, fitting enough, I guess. Hey, Sandra. How you doing in there? After the cycle of the rites ceased turning, records of what happened to the Black Wagon of the Nightwings become inconclusive and contradictory. Some accounts suggest that the exiles of the Nightwings, who remained in the downside, continued to make use of the Black Wagon as their place of shelter and their means of travel. However, there is no record of what happened to the wagon's contents, such as the Book of Rites or the Beyonder Crystal, said to be haunted by the apparition Sandra the Unseeing. One possibility is that when the lone minstrel took his leave, he took the Beyonder Crystal with him, for he was thus obliged. By this line of reasoning, however, the Black Wagon itself should have been taken also. Others remain skeptical that the Beyonder Crystal ever existed, or rather that the visions that it granted were anything other than the result of an active imagination, or a fever dream. The bog dwellers of the southern bogs offer still another explanation, for they are familiar with binding enchantments. If there existed such an object, in which the Sisters of the Arch had been expelled for more than 800 years, then the enchantment could have expired along with the light of the stars. Sisters of the Arch, an ancient band of killers, trained almost from birth to carry out their missions without fail. All the sisters needed was a name and a sum of 500 sol up front. Well, that's not even that much. This is who Sandra was? What this would have meant for Sandra and the Beyonders is difficult to say for certain, other than it may have meant that they were finally released. Nevertheless, the fates of Sandra and the Beyonder Crystal remain unknown. Yet those exiles of the Nightwings who claimed to have seen this apparition all spoke of her with degrees of reverence or, perhaps, a little fear. Well, you know that voice she put on when she would face them. Alright, I think let's, Gilman next. The Worm Knight Sir Gilman had elected to go into exile as penance for his failure to uphold his military obligations to the Commonwealth. Oh, that's right, I kind of forgot about that, but he may not have wanted to go back, right? Maybe. I'll feel a lot better if he didn't. To him, earning back his freedom was tantamount to erasing the shame of his past. His honor was at stake, more so than anything. Yet, when it became clear to him that he would not go free again through the rites, he readily accepted the outcome, for he knew, by then, that much more was on the line. He regretted not having had a chance to contribute directly to the events that transpired in the Commonwealth, though he was pleased to hear the outcome. Gilman's really the only one I feel extremely bad about not having freed. If I had been able to be successful in one more liberation rite, it definitely would have been him that would have followed Lei. Well, maybe Ruki, but him that would have followed Ruki anyway. This is the one big failure. The conclusion of the rites and the fall of the Commonwealth made clear to him that his days as a knight had ended. He declared to all those in earshot that he would never fight again. Unless, of course, there arose some other extraordinary set of circumstance, again requiring him to fight, but he certainly hoped not. He still trained regularly, though never found as skilled and motivating of a partner as his fleet-footed friend Ruki Greentail, whom he remembered fondly. This is really the reason I feel worse about it. Worst about it. Gilman should have been with Ruki. I really needed to send him across. From time to time he would seek guidance from one of his former comrades, Big Bertrude, much his elder, and a wellspring of perspective on his life decisions. He was always grateful for the counsel of the reader, and would regale him over and over about the time they squashed the spawn of the unfathomed Plurnus. Once merely the status of a deviant, yet now a revered title in the Saurian Union. Good. I'm glad we turned that around. He wasted no time dwelling on his days under the leadership of Sir Deluge, his former commander. The other Worm Knights stayed well clear of him. Gilman never did return to his homeland of the Sea Dominion, and was content to lead a monastic life on a small residence in the hills. Seems odd. It was just high up enough to make him keep striving to conquer his fear of heights. Other than that, an intense daily training regimen and the occasional visit from an old companion was more than enough to keep him optimistic and engaged. He knew by then that honor was not something to be won, but a contract with oneself, to be renewed each day. That's an alright ending, but we really should have gotten him back across. He deserved it. After the rites ended, Pamitha Thane parted ways with the other Nightwings, stated that she needed time alone. She reappeared sometime after the fall of the Commonwealth, though she expressed mild surprise at the news. Yeah, she never did have much faith in the plan. She claimed to have no knowledge of what went on, including what role the Highwing remnants had in the events that reshaped the world on the other side. For her part, Pamitha feigned little interest, making the point that they were stuck, and what happened elsewhere had little to do with them now. Someone with whom she kept in contact was the bog dweller called Big Bertrude. They would discuss all sorts of matters long into the night, and sometimes hunt together too. Pamitha never saw her blood sister again, though did hear of her. By some accounts, Tamitha played no small part in the historic last days of the Commonwealth. In turn, Tamitha must have heard something of her blood sister. However, she never responded to Pamitha's attempts to contact her. Pamitha did not expect forgiveness from her at any point. Nonetheless, she kept on trying to reach out, she said, to ruffle up her feathers just a bit. Having long since felt as though she had no home to call her own, Pamitha continued traveling about the downside. As the tempest swept across the land, changing its features, she found in it a sublime beauty, and in the starless nights, she still could see just fine. She said such travels tended to remind her of when she was younger and could fly unfettered. That's not so bad. And I think Bertrude and Volfred probably are fine. Several exiles of the Nightwings cared more for the plan of Sandalwood than to return home from the downside. The crone called Big Bertrude was a prime example. She had found a suitable environment to live, within the dismal region known as Flagging Hands. There she had built up a thriving place of business known to many exiles in the land. To be perfectly honest, returning Bertrude to the Commonwealth probably would have been worse for almost everybody involved than allowing her to stay down here. Even for lots of people who aren't involved, because I'm sure a lot of the exiles are dependent on her. With the rites having ended, she returned to her preoccupations, working away almost as though nothing had happened. When one gets to be more than 400 years of age, perhaps then even monumental events such as the culmination of the rites or the collapse of the Commonwealth are seen as trifling matters. Much of her effort was doubtless due to the influence of Sandalwood, someone whom she had admired now for decades. He had made clear that he could not requite her feelings for him, but what could have been a hurtful dismissal led only to a deeper understanding between them. She maintained an unlikely kinship with the harp Pamitha Thane, whom she had known during their time together on the Nightwings. They each had different strategies for dealing with life's day-to-day annoyances, a subject that they both found vital, if not fascinating to no end. By and large, Bertrude kept focused on her work. Whether casting small enchantments or imbuing talismans, the work brought her a sense of purpose, she would say. She was probably important to Falconron's business, actually. In the Commonwealth, such services were strictly forbidden, but in the downside, there was a real need for simple luxuries, which the competing slug market could not always provide. Thus did Big Bertrude continue to live up to her name, and the tales of her days with the Nightwings made her that much more the living legend. Yeah. Good. It's perfectly fine that we kept her down here. Probably better that we didn't send her across. Sandalwood, I'm less sure about. With the cycle of the rites ceased turning, Wulfred Sandalwood turned toward the starless sky and closed his eyes and prayed. It was all that he could do at that stage of his plan. He aspired to assemble with liberated exiles, representing each of the 8 largest ethnic groups composing the population of the Commonwealth. They would stand together as a vision of the 8 scribes returned, inspiring the masses to embrace an older set of values from before the Commonwealth had tightened its grip. With the rites ending sooner than expected, this ideal scenario became impossible. Sandalwood's own freedom, for instance, was now forfeit, yet the plan did have contingencies. Word reached him that on the night of the scribe's return, several of his fellow liberated Nightwings stood together and their voices echoed through the streets. It was vital to Sandalwood that this stand against the Commonwealth be peaceful in its nature, but this proved to be untenable, especially after the Highwing remnants appeared. I wonder if you get Sandalwood and Pamitha both across, if the Highwing attack can be averted. There was speculation that their well-timed assault may not have happened by coincidence, though Sandalwood denied any involvement and regretted the bloodshed. Nevertheless, the main thrust of the plan had been achieved. Sandalwood kept busy after that, as much as possible, providing counsel from afar to those who would be at the forefront of the birth of the Saurian Union. Of course, being stranded in the downside meant that there was only so much he could do. Resting assured that the future of the nation was in capable hands and not his own, he turned his attention to the remaining exiles of the downside. They might never return to that new nation, but at least they could experience its triumphs and its struggles in some vicarious way. So he took to his old work, writing and printing. As literacy began to spread again through the Saurian Union, so too did exiles of the downside take to it. For his part, Sandalwood helped to teach as many as he could. More than that, he provided the material to read, a semi-annual report about the latest events, both in the Saurian Union and the downside. This periodical gave many exiles something to look forward to. One of his allies in all this was the imp Tizo, with whom he traveled all across the downside. Sandalwood often cited Tizo as the wellspring of his own enthusiasm for a brighter future. Such was the creature's spirit. He welcomed the company of the reader of the Nightwings at every opportunity, and counted him a trusted friend and a keen editor. As Wulfred Sandalwood gained more fame throughout this land for all his sacrifices and his contributions, it is said that he remained steadfast about 2 things. The first was that the cause itself ought to remain in focus. Freedom that the people had achieved. It was a gift to be cherished, a set of values that needed to be nurtured. The second point he made was that he himself had little to do with the outcome. He would often praise the exiles of the Nightwings who had stood with him, each in turn by name. He never forgot any of them. One day, to commemorate his birthday, the people of the Saurian Union unveiled a monument depicting him and the Nightwings as imagined in their prime. While Sandalwood did not learn of it until much later, it is said that he was moved to tears then by the gesture. It has since ensured that those of us with memories more fallible than that of Sandalwood likewise remember the achievements of his former fellow exiles, and our cause, Listen, all the words were there. I want to do Jodariel last. At least last of these people. This is what's actually going last. What's up with Lay? The Commonwealth had never provided a sense of home for the one they called Lay the Lonely, so she was surprised on her return that she was so well treated. She felt uneasy about it, and besides, she knew that she would do her best to fulfill the pledge she had made to her friends. I think of the people we sent back, Lay is probably the one who would have done the best had we kept her on the downside. Even she could not have expected the impact she would have on the events that followed, which gave rise to our Saurian Union. Lay stood with the others on the night of the Scribe's return. She did not take up arms, but spoke of the Scribes with conviction and sincerity. This is kind of what I was hoping she would do. Others were so caught off guard that it helped quell the danger of the situation. After the fall of the Commonwealth, there was a renewed interest in the legend of the 8 Scribes, and many new interpretations of their histories and teachings. Lay found herself at the center of all this. Her way of speaking continued to compel a growing audience. She swayed many people from their astralist beliefs. Soon, the 8th Word, which had lost favor with the people during the reign of the Commonwealth, sought her out and asked her formally to join, and she did right away. The 8th Word, a theocratic sect believing that the Scribes were more than mortal and their words divine. Surely the book created by the Scribes was more than a fable, but a genuine artifact, though perhaps lost to time. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not super excited about this outcome. Through it all, she would wonder how her little friend Tizo had fared. While they were divided now by a great distance, he always remained in her heart. She cited her relationship with Jodariel as the single most important in her life. I kinda thought that might end up being the case. Jodariel would always provide for her a circumspect perspective and the wisdom of experience. Lay always was devoted to her faith, but more so to her friends. Many people in the Saurian Union cited that her gentle manner and unwavering conviction helped them brave the changing times with courage and with grace. I kind of figured part of the reason I was so eager to send to send Lay over second was that I thought that Jodariel and Lay would probably be very positive influences on each other. I think Jodariel needs a little bit of the lightness of Lay, and I think Lay probably needed a little bit of the pragmatism that Jodariel brings. After Ruki Greentail earned back his freedom, he returned to a lavish welcome ceremony in the Commonwealth, as was the tendency for liberated exiles. It was everything he could have hoped for, and soon he was well off, surrounded by luxury and choosing between various exciting opportunities. However, he must have given in to his better judgment, as he did end up siding with Volfred Sandalwood's revolutionary forces as he promised. On the night of Scribe's return, Greentail kept busy barking orders to Volfred's agents as the situation grew tenser. He took rather well to leadership. When dawn finally came and it became clear that the Commonwealth that everybody knew would be no more, he realized many new opportunities awaited. He began quite a lucrative career for himself, manufacturing and selling replica merchandise inspired by the downside. His main struggle was to meet demand. An aspect of his conscience cautioned him against making light of such a thing. But the money was too good, and soon his family was as well off as he had always said. Greentail always did his best to keep in touch with all his many friends, and knew that he owed his fortunes to them. He made a special point of staying close with the group of friends he came to know so well during his time with the Nightwings, wherever they were. They shared a special understanding that put even Greentail at a loss for words sometimes. That's good, I'm glad he was able to take care of his people. After her liberation, Jodariel soon became an icon of the movement that led to the collapse of the Commonwealth and the rise of the Saurian Union. Her military prowess and experience led to key victories in clashes against Commonwealth loyalists. Each time, she was able to subdue the opposition, avoiding lethal force. This is exactly the reason I sent her back first, by the way. In the uncertain times that followed, Jodariel's seasoned expertise often came into play both in matters of security and of state. For instance, she conscripted and trained a team of volunteers in public safety. The community did not know what to make of such a cordial bunch at first, but soon came to value their service. They have stood for the people ever since, and we celebrate their founding day each year. She remained close with Hedwyn all through this experience, and they supported each other through their struggles many, many times. She kept an eye on Lei, who, nonetheless, demonstrated a surprising knack to get by on her own, though Jodariel was always willing to provide assistance, just in case. She continued training on her own, a regimen that grew stricter with each passing year. There were those who sought to train with her, and she sometimes obliged. There remained one other constant in her life. She would always remember her days among the Nightwings, and with fondness, for the most part. I sent Jodariel back first, because the one thing that I thought most of her was that she was competent. She could do the work. She would get the thing done. But I am kind of bummed out that we didn't get to spend much time with her, because I really like her as a character. So when I do replay this, I probably will not send her back right away. The other thing is, I am extremely glad that I managed to win the final liberation rite, because separating her and Hedwyn seemed horrible. I wasn't happy to do it even for a little while, and I would have felt terrible about my failure having made it permanent. Hey, let's see if we can finally figure out what's up with these two. You first. Nope, both of them at the same time, I guess. After the cycle of the rites ceased turning, the lone minstrel bade the remaining Nightwings take the Black Wagon and seek their fortunes elsewhere in the downside. Their parting was heartfelt but brief. He remained there at the summit of Mount Allodial with Celeste, where the two of them would chronicle the final outcome of the cycle. Neither Tariq nor Celeste were ever seen again. We know all this now through song attributed to them. Some claim these songs originated in the taverns of the Saurian Union, and merely were imbued with the weight of folklore. However, exiles liberated from the downside corroborated each other's claims at having met this duo that presided over the liberation rites. Another folktale suggests these minstrels were heralds of the Scribes. Having fulfilled their obligations, they departed the world we know and rejoined their patrons. One of their famous songs describes another, simpler outcome, that the two gave up their duties to the rites in favor of a life that they could share together. In any case, they are likely to remain the subject of such verses and such songs, for it was they who watched over the rites and ushered in our times. There is one more account which warrants mention. Yes, I should think so. The Nightwings conducted the rites under the guidance of a reader. Little is known of him. However, some accounts of him begin to paint a picture. We know he was of common birth, always directionless, and prone to misremembering at times. The journey to the downside left him close to death. It was then that the Nightwings found him. They brought him from the brink. He showed them the path. He pressed onward with the others. He had made a vow to help his friends be free. Thus did the cycle of the rites commence its final turns. When the final rite arrived, the reader's freedom was at stake. In the end, however, he remained in exile. From that point on, accounts of him diverge. It is said the voice which troubled him he never heard again. Some say he helped improve the lives of other downside exiles. I should hope so. Though, whether that is true, only he knows. Someday, perhaps, that reader's own star shall emerge. Then it shall pierce the dark of night in all its brilliant glory. Until such time, and ever after, all of us give thanks.
Their journey began on a barren waste where the reader arrived, afraid and alone. When he arrived, the book of rites awakened the Nightwings, has found his way home. Captain Joe Dariel, mother to many a foundling, she has found her way home. Ruki Greentail has proved his worth and returned to his family by the grace of the scribes. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in a braid till the end. The moon-touched girl hears the scribes in the world all around her. They have guided her home.
'Tis all the wise, ever faithful to the cause of the night wings. He remained to the end. Sir Gilman the Bold, duty bound to honor the night wings. He remained to the end. Amith the Thane, born on guilty wings, ever seeking forgiveness. She remained till the end. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in a braid till the end. Bound together, spirits tender, strands unbroken, scribes awoken. The great mastermind, Wolfred Sandalwood, saw his plans turn to action. He remained till the end. The bog dweller Bertrude kept their foes at bay with her finest enchantments. She remained till the end. The reader at last made the night wings whole, having bound them together. He remained till the end. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in a braid till the end. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in a braid till the end. Now at the end, as we bid farewell and return to the stars, we shall find our way home. We shall find our way home. We shall find our way home.
Man. That was an awfully good video game. I have a tremendous number of thoughts racing through my head right now. There is a lot to be said, I think. Let's jump back to the menu. I want to check one thing quickly before we end the video. Okay. We do still have a save prior to the final rite, which means we can go back and read the book. So, obviously, I've been talking pretty much constantly for 2 hours at this point, and I need a break, and also I need to gather my thoughts before I say anything else anyway. So, that's going to be it for us for today, but not for the series. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this, honestly, even a fraction as much as I have, because this, honestly, this is like... This was an experience. This is a hell of a thing. Come back next time. There's at least 2 more videos coming. We are going to dig into the book properly, and, of course, a final thoughts video that might be kind of a long one, because I have a lot of thoughts. Anyway, that's it for us. Come back next time. We're not done with this thing yet. And we'll see you then.